Welcome back to Unfiltered, Season 6, presented by Hustle. I am Jay Skyline.
I'm Man James.
We got Malachi behind the boards as always, and we just want to get in with the first 10. It's been a while. We missed a lot of hot stuff this summer when it comes to not just sports, but rap and just media. I guess we're just going to slide in with the beginning of, I guess, some of the more current things. Young Thug's still on trial. It is merged into more of a circuit. I don't understand what's going on with Fulton County's, I guess, judicial system, because all I've been seeing is the YSL Woody stuff recently, and the last one I saw was him basically not answering questions and then started randomly talking to Thug, and then the prosecutor got mad, and I'm just like, I know that at some point they've been listening to all Thug's music. They've had to get rid of lawyers. People were just like, it's the wildest trial of all time. Like, maybe outside of OJ, but like at this point, either if I was the prosecutors, I would want to retrial. Like, I couldn't imagine the idea that y'all think somebody's going to jail off of whatever's going on at this point.
So find new evidence.
No, just to redo what you have and and it does not have to be a circus. And again, I'm on free Thug, but I'm like, if I was the prosecutor, I'm like, how do you think this is normal behavior at this point? Like, Thug, I don't even understand how Thug's still in jail. And the only reason I understand is because I think the judge basically says he's a flight risk or is a danger. And there's some stuff in the trial that has been very obvious for a long time that I like, they can get him on it, fine, but like, it's been public knowledge. So it's kind of like the whole Lil Wayne tour bus thing, some of his lyrics about basically admitting to shooting up YFN Lucci's mom's house. That's like, we were listening to some music before we got on, and it's basically like the self-dry snitching stuff that rappers do now, and I guess it's more direct snitching on themselves now. Yeah. And I'm just like, yeah, like, and then my thing is, if you're going to take him to trial for that stuff, don't you still need evidence to prove that stuff? It can't just be words, or was that just taking an admission of guilt? Because, I mean, I know that's what they did to Smurda, but I also think there was a lot of evidence tying them to it. It was just easier when Smurda was saying who did exactly what.
He did this, and yeah. That was fucked up. But it was still good track.
So I just think it was a little different with Smurda, because Smurda was giving details. And, Thug gives details, but it's still like, you still got to connect the lines if you're long.
Yeah, you're not completely incriminating yourself. You're saying, like, hey, I'm doing something, but...
So it's just that type of stuff with the Thug case. But yeah, no, with YSL Woody in the case, and I don't know if he's serious or not, if he's with Thug, if he's... So it sounds like he's snitching to get out of something, but I'm like, what the fuck was he in the first place?
Yeah. So...
At some point, I can't wait. Like, we're still going through, like, BMF as a show. At some point, we're going to get the YSL show to get the understanding what the hell, how we got Young Thug, what happened to Rich Homie Quan, and why nobody knows what the fuck he is, and everybody else gets mixed into this. So I'm just like, I'm waiting for that. Because I didn't even, there's some, when, I don't know, the 90s was different. Like, at some point, we do have to understand that, like, Death Row was a label and a gang. But it just didn't seem to operate so out frontly as a label and a gang.
Yeah.
And in some ways, Bad Boy, but obviously Bad Boy, from what we know now, Bad Boy was operating as a label and a gang, just in a different type of gang.
Damn. Yo. All right.
There's a DLC to GTA 4 that will give y'all to understand.
Is that for real?
Yes.
Oh.
But yeah, but like, I just felt like it was different back then. We're not like YSL is being legitimately charged as a gang. It's not just a record label or like an imprint. It is being used as the idea that it's a gang. And it's just like, yeah, people are going thrown under the bus. Gunna's career is basically back. I still won't listen to him because I feel like what y'all did to Tekashi was wild. And if we did it to Tekashi, we should do it to Gunna. So I still ain't listening to Gunna until I have full proof of what the hell is going on. I know everybody else is listening to him because the nigga went number one. So, and I ain't even got no beef with Gunna. I'm just like, we ran Tekashi out. To the point that I don't even think, a lot of people lost respect for Akon because of the remix of the One Joint. So I'm like, the way we ran Tekashi out, I'm not saying Tekashi was the greatest rapper of all time or Tekashi is as good as Gunna. I don't know, I level how good Gunna is because I just feel like he's a clone of Thug, Lil Baby, and all the other rappers that sound like in a high voice, nasally lane. Apparently, he's outpaced Lil Baby. Lil Baby's done.
Huh.
Any y'all heard anything that anybody cares about from Lil Baby in the last year?
No.
Like, the only song I can think about is the one with Central.
So you actually have one? You like it.
The Central C song, but that's y'all know how I feel about not Canadian, UK rappers. So I'm like, Central C's been on though. Central C was on the Little Baby joint. He's on the J. Cole album. So I'm like, hey man, y'all. I was telling y'all that these UK dudes was coming. Y'all was like, oh, they sound funny. I'm like, hey man, record label's gonna let these dudes come. They got the beats.
Yeah.
And I learned back in 2005 when everybody was telling me Gucci Mane was the greatest rapper alive that it was about Zaytoven. So. So, on the other news, the thing I think we was skirting around, and I think we'll all have an open conversation about more openly is, hey, man, sometimes you got to pop out and show niggas.
What?
Kendrick, Drake,
Oh.
A$AP Rocky, The Weeknd, Nav, if you want to add Nav to it, Rick Ross, Kanye. You know what? We're going.
Briefest Kanye.
Yeah.
Fastest Kanye's been like in an issue and then out of one ever.
I don't think he's even out of it. We just didn't care.
That's what I'm saying. Like the first time it's been like, oh, Kanye's in it, and it was like,
all right. It was still good. But
also, if you really listen to that track, all Kanye said was
the J. Cole disc.
And he said he got Kendrick's back. He even said he didn't really have anything to say about Drake. And I'm like, I'm confused about why we.
He's like, I don't know Drake lied.
Yeah, now y'all cool.
I don't even think they're cool. I think Kanye just fully admitted that he couldn't think of something to say, and there was nobody sitting next to him with an idea that was good enough. Again, I don't. No matter how much I like Kanye musically, I don't put him in a certain stratosphere because I know he don't. I know all his ideas are not his own. I don't believe I've heard some of those Drake diss tracks from back in the day. I don't believe that all Kanye songs are fully written by other people, and I think from some of the music we've heard recently, we know that other people aren't just fully writing these Kanye songs. There's a couple songs that might have been fully written by other people, but I believe Kanye is more on the sitting in a room with 15 people and listening to them come up with ideas, and then him taking those ideas and making a song. Where I believe Drake is getting fully written songs to the point that some of them have been recorded by other people. For Drake can record those songs like those people, and then at some point we've actually heard those tracks come to life. I think that's different. But back to the Kanye side, Kanye.
Pick one. Pick an unfused name.
Cognac? Okay, Cognac.
The Kanye side of things.
Cognac is the new name.
Kanye got one track.
Cognac.
Kanye got one track and was out. And I think it was because Future sent it to him. So Kanye I don't think was looking to get into this. Future sent him the track to be the remix.
Okay.
And Kanye did it. And I've been saying since before this happened that I think the person, and I think it's gone further than that, but I think the person that we really need to be paying attention to is the power couple that I think Drake needs to leave the fuck alone, and he won't leave the fuck alone, and I think it's going to be a problem eventually, is A$AP and Rihanna. Just leave them two. A$AP's about to drop an album.
That's going to happen.
Yeah, he just dropped a single.
Yeah.
He tried to get Tim Burton to be like the executive producer or something. It was going to be wild.
Wow, yeah.
But I do think
Scissorhands.
Yeah.
But the song from the Cudi album, I already knew there was something coming from that. Then when he hopped on the second Future Metro album, which I will admit, I'll get to that because I think we have bubbled on that. A$AP snapped on that, and then Drake came back with his plethora of diss tracks. I will admit, I've only listened to one of the new Drake songs that have come out. I think there's 6 new Drake songs that were released recently on some weird way.
I do not know.
Yeah. One of them is basically.
I don't really care because I'm not on. You like Drake.
I don't. Again, for one thing, you know I'm Team Kendrick.
I don't know.
But I've always attested there was only one good diss track out of that Drake whole thing, and that was Family Matters. And the only problem with Family Matters is there's no focus on one person. So even when he does go at Kendrick, and I do believe that at least the third part of the track where it's the second time he goes at Kendrick is fucking scathing. Like the stuff he's saying about, even though I think it's some reverse, like the problem is the stuff he says is scathing, but it's easy to combat because it's still Drake coming at Kendrick about being the blackest nigga alive. And it's like, yeah, that shit's funny, but what's the problem with being the blackest nigga alive? And that's the counter to it, and that's what Kendrick did on the back end with the third verse of Not Like Us. Because no matter how much Not Like Us bangs, once he says, all right, we're going to stop. And also remember, the second verse is where he starts screaming for like the whole second half of the 8, and shit goes crazy. Then he hits the hook again, then he stops the fucking song and decides, I'm going to hit y'all with a history lesson. and then not just hit you with a history lesson. And I think I noticed with the pop out when Kendrick performed it at the pop out that I do believe some artists came to him and said, "Hey, I didn't like that." Because if you notice during the pop out, he only said like 4 of the names that he says at that end part. Because he says like 2 Chainz, Quavo, Lil Baby, and a bunch of people. He omits like 3 or 4 of those names during the show. So I believe somebody like 2 Chainz or somebody got in his ear like, "Hey, that was cool, but I never gave him the green light." So I'm like, before we get out, so where y'all at in the situation yet?
I'm at. It was great for Kendrick. It was great for hip hop. It was great for battle rap.
Mm-hmm.
Like beef. Will it end Drake? No.
It was never gonna end Drake.
I'm just saying. Some people thought it would. Will it elevate Kendrick to a level? Maybe not as well either. But it'll just give him that victory under his belt, like Nas. It'll be like you'll continue on your Nas, but you had that one time when you battled Jay, like so it's like it's one of those type things for me.
Then the side note is because of some of the other things that happened, and I think we got to admit that like Future, out of everybody, Drake never directly went at Future, but I feel like the person that didn't win out of this was Future. Like the albums didn't really do great. Metro won because of the challenge.
Yeah.
When he did the challenge, shit went left.
Yeah.
The 2 albums only spawned the ASAP part of it, the Kendrick part of it, and I think the part of it that is the funniest because it created a second beef that ended up turning into a whole thing where somebody got basically kicked out of their coast, was Ross. Because when Ross went after Drake, which I think was
The white boy.
so
that was wild.
But again, I think the thing is, out of everybody that Drake went back against, and at least the songs by him, like every once in a while, Ross was probably the one that got some of the deepest bars against him when it came to Drake coming back at him. But Ross going at Drake, and then for some reason, from like 4,000 miles away, Game was like, "I'm picking up for Drake. I'm going after Ross." Even though we have like...
I heard nothing about that.
I did not know
Just
the
I haven't
game.
heard one thing.
Wait a
And we're
minute.
reviewing it late.
Hold
I still
on.
haven't heard.
The Game came at Ross.
Game went after Ross.
Whoa. But it's just like,
But
that's like
I-
small beef that you didn't really give a shit. You only here for the...
smallest rock in the pond on that one.
Oh.
Game was defending defending Drake because
What?
he looks at Drake as a homie.
What?
But he wasn't going after Kendrick. That was the funny part. He went after Ross. But like, once you make the decision that you're going after Ross in the defense of Drake,
Yeah, then you should kind of take up for everything on that side.
right? So that's why everybody's like, why was the only person not at the pop up? Game. And Vince Staples. I actually figured out why Vince Staples wasn't there because Vince Staples made it very clear he's on Kendrick's side.
That's
But
my guy. Fuck with Staples.
the only
Ready for
two.
Season 2. Did it come out yet?
No, I'm waiting for it.
Yeah.
But,
that's funny shit.
Those are the only 2 I would say major West Coast artists that are still relevant, and I do believe Game is relevant. Like I'm not going to say Game isn't relevant in a West Coast sphere. Maybe not in New York, maybe not even in Pittsburgh, but in West Coast, Game will be relevant until he dies.
Charts.
But Game wasn't there. Game made a bunch of excuses. He's like, "This is for the young people." I'm like, they might not have their own sets, but Snoop and Dre were there.
So I
So
said this for young people. Dre, yeah, definitely was there.
So I'm like, Dre made it very clear whose side he was on because he didn't have to start the fucking song. And then from Vince Staples' side, Vince Staples was already on tour in Europe whenever everything was getting set up. So that was a scheduling conflict, and Vince made it very clear if he was in LA, he would have been there. Mm-hmm. Where Game made it sound like, oh, they didn't need me there. This is for the up and coming and all that. And I'm like, all right, that don't make no damn sense.
Yeah, no.
But and then so that's why I like the butterfly effect of. I think Game looked at Ross as an easy mark. And then the other part of it is, well, Game, if you're going to start beefing with Ross, why don't you go hit up 50? Because the Tony Ayo wants money. Tony Ayo basically came out like a week or 2 ago and was like, hey, Game, can you call 50 and apologize so we can do the G Unit tour and go make a couple mil? And it's just like, for one, I just think y'all need Buck and Banks. Y'all don't absolutely need Game.
You do kind of.
Nah, you do. Come on.
The whole G Unit. Like,
no.
You would have Mobb Deep if Prodigy was alive. You might even get Mace to come out. Like, you have to get everything that happened.
Hey, I know because of the Cam and Mace podcast, but like, was a spin. Actually, you know what? We ran over the first 10. We got some more stuff to give you. I'm gonna bring this up on the back end. We're gonna talk about this Mace unit situation because I've never understood the window shopper video, and somebody explained it recently. We need to talk about that. But this is the end of the first 10. Again, Jay Skyline
And James.
Malachi behind the
We
boards. And
back.
again, always produced by Hustle. Or, well, yeah, produced by Hustle too because Malachi's behind the boards, but sponsored by Hustle.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Damn. You just gave him a new name.
I mean, I
That was a good one.
Hustle. I kind of consider